As I say these words, we are one day away from the game that I have been anticipating more than any other game since it was first announced in 2016, Oddworld Soulstorm. Soulstorm releases on April 6, 2021. That's tomorrow at the time of recording on PC, PS4 and PS5. If you're watching this and you're a PS5 player with a PlayStation Plus membership, you'll be able to download Soulstorm at no cost as one of the monthly PS Plus games. So if you've got a PS5 and a PS Plus membership, you've got literally nothing to lose by giving this game a chance. Boring disclaimer, yes, I voice acted for this game, but no, I haven't been asked or paid to advertise it. I just want to talk about it because I really do love Oddworld as a franchise that much. Which should be kind of obvious since I do have Abe, a few Sligs, Mullock, a Scrab, a Greeter, and even fucking Big Face tattooed on my arms. Yeah, you could say I'm a fan. Anyway, Oddworld Soulstorm is essentially a remake of Oddworld Abe's Exodus, which hit the PlayStation 1 on November 17th, 1998. November 27th in the UK, mind you, the day before my 10th birthday. Now, isn't that just bloody convenient? However, simply calling Soulstorm a remake isn't being completely fair, since this game has already shown itself to be so much more. It's important to understand that Oddworld inhabitants were given 9 months to develop Abe's Exodus. And even though it was a fantastic game, my personal favourite game of all time, which built on the core gameplay of the original Abe's Odyssey while still feeling fun and fresh with the new story and new additions to the gameplay, for example, being able to possess more characters than just the generic Sligs, it felt, at least to creator Lorne Lanning, a little lacking, since the 9-month development cycle hadn't really allowed for Oddworld to tell the next chapter of their story the way Lorne truly envisioned. And that's where Soulstorm comes in. This game is set to, in Lorne's own words, flesh out the meat on the bones of an original spine, but retell the fable from a very different angle. Which means Soulstorm will have some similarities to the story of Abe's Exodus, but won't be a straight-up regurgitation. As Lorne has explained, the story of Soulstorm will be a deeper, darker, more sinister story that we never got to tell. A great example of this is the fact that Mullock, the Gluckin Big Bad who was presumed dead or possibly in hiding after the events of Abe's Odyssey and its like-for-like remake New and Tasty, who in Abe's Exodus was only mentioned in passing, is front and center in this cutscene from Soulstorm, in hot pursuit of Abe and his fellow Mudokons after they destroyed Mullock's meat processing plant, Rupture Farms. Similarly, from the other tidbits of cutscenes we've seen, we can easily see just how much more rich and immersive this story is going to be compared to the original. Like, fuck, Abe's gonna cut his stitches, and what the fuck does this mean, and what the fuck is going to happen? Sorry. The story isn't the only thing they've revamped. The gameplay too has had a complete overhaul, while still maintaining the charm and puzzle-solving head-scratchery of its predecessor. The basics are still there. Abe moves in this 2.9D space, 2.9D meaning the action takes place in a 2D side-scrolling platformer, but at certain points you will also move along the Z-axis, moving you into what was previously the background. And Lorne has touted that effectively anything you see happening in the background takes place in an area that you will be able to access later in the level. Our unlikely hero Abe still does his usual tricks. He can run and jump, he can quietly sneak past sleeping enemies, he can still possess them to do his bidding. He also still has the key ingredient that hooked us on all of the Abe games in the first place, game speak, allowing him to tell his fellow Mudokons to follow him, to wait in a safe place, all that good stuff. Oh, and before I get to the super new stuff, one slight change to the game speak has blown my bloody mind. If you're in stealth mode, i.e. sneaking past sleeping Sligs, Abe will whisper his game speak so as not to wake the Sligs, which makes perfect sense because of course you would do that in that situation. Whoever thought of that little touch needs a raise, even if it was Lorne. Lorne, give yourself a bloody raise. Now, arguably the biggest addition to the gameplay is the looting and crafting system, where Abe can find items in his environment to help him solve the game's puzzles and make his way through each area, and can even combine items to give them different effects. Some items can be simple as a rock candy, which will pacify an enemy if you pelt them with enough, but they can be combined with rubber bands, for example, to make them bounce along platforms to hit hard to reach foes. Now, I'm not going to go through all the items and combos we've been shown so far, like you can look at all the gameplay presentations and stuff, but just know the items and the combinations of items you can craft look like a lot of fun. Hell, you can even craft a flamethrower. Now, I have seen some people who aren't thrilled with the addition of crafting and looting and whatnot, since they feel like Abe should be totally vulnerable all the time, and that Abe's a pacifist and shouldn't be given that kind of firepower. But the way I see it is this. You lot weren't saying this when you were playing through Odyssey and Exodus, throwing grenades at Sligs, and when Abe was ripping Sligs and Gluckons apart when he was done possessing them. And don't even get me started on Abe possessing a Slig so he can shoot slogs to death. You've got to remember that in Soulstorm, Abe is effectively starting his revolution. He's grown from a feeble factory worker to the face of an uprising, so it's about time he learned to defend himself a little better. I'm genuinely excited to see just how many different items there are to find and all the combinations we can craft, and to find out how we can use all of these to make our way through the challenges this game has to offer. It opens up a whole new level of thinking because now you have an inventory system and now you have to think about what items you're using to solve certain puzzles because you might need those items later on. I think the main worry people are having with this is they think that you're going to be able to use these items to make overpowered weapons that are going to then basically effectively allow you to cheat your way through the puzzles. I think it's going to have had a lot more thought put into it than that. I mean, this is Oddworld, remember. Another cool addition comes with the PS5's DualSense controller, whose haptic feedback system will allow us to feel Abe's heartbeat during tense situations. I'm really eager to see how that adds to the atmosphere. Now, one of the greatest, but also most terrifying changes to this game is the sheer amount of Abe's followers you're going to be in charge of as you progress through this game. Back in Abe's Odyssey, you could only have one Mudokon follower follow you at any one time. And in Exodus, they added the All-Ear command to give you control over a group of Mudokons. Still, I think the biggest group you generally had responsibility for at any time was about 9 Mudokons. It was certainly less than 20. In Oddworld Soulstorm, Abe won't just have a handful of followers to look after. There's the potential for hundreds. In several parts of the game, you'll be in charge of dealing with a bunch of Mudokons in the foreground, whilst in the background, upwards of 400 of your fellow chumps will be fleeing to safety, with it being your responsibility to ensure that those guys make their escape unharmed. Needless to say, it's going to be absolute bedlam, and really fucking hard for the completionists out there. Hell, as a 23-year fan of Oddworld, I am more than prepared to pull every individual strand of hair away from my body in pure unadulterated anger every time I finish a level with 299 out of 300 Mudokons saved, yelling, "Where? Where the fuck was that last guy? I swear I got them all this time. This is bullshit!" Before sitting calmly back down to restart from my last checkpoint, have a sip of G Fuel, and promise myself I surely won't fuck it up this time. If you've played an Oddworld game before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And whilst I'm sure each of these new gameplay features combined will create some intense, overwhelming, and downright time-sensitive scenarios, I get the feeling that for each of those, there'll be the more laid-back, casual-paced exploration puzzles that we all know and love, giving us time to admire all of the beautifully rendered environments we'll find ourselves in. Speaking of those environments, the ones we've seen so far look incredible. Abe's Odyssey and Exodus always had their art style and environments nailed from the get-go, and it looks like Soulstorm is going to continue that trend with some absolutely gorgeous level design that managed to give a 2.9D side-scroller a staggering feeling of scale. And not to mention there are going to be a ton of secret areas nestled within these vast expanses of level, much like the one they sneakily showed during their Future Games presentation. I genuinely believe with every fiber of my being that Oddworld Soulstorm is going to be the greatest Oddworld game we've seen so far. It's already the best looking and it's not even out yet. And with its rich story and darker undertones while still maintaining the humor and dry sarcasm that gives Oddworld its charm, it very well could take Exodus's spot as my favorite game of all time. Whether you've been playing Oddworld games since the first releases, or if you've never played one, hell, even if you've never heard of Oddworld, I guarantee that if you give Oddworld Soulstorm a chance, you won't be disappointed. And who knows, maybe you'll find yourself loving this franchise as much as I do. Also, again, if you're a PS5 player with the PlayStation Plus membership, it's free during April 2021, so what have you really got to lose? I've been waiting for this game for the last 6 years, and it's so bizarre to think that it's out tomorrow. Like, I'm giddy with excitement and I just can't wait to get my hands on it. If you're looking forward to it too, let me know down in the comments. Let me know what kind of things you're looking forward to in this game, what most excites you about it. If you've played Oddworld before, if you've never played Oddworld, I want to hear from everybody. And if you're wondering if I'm going to stream it, I am going to stream it over on Twitch, twitch.tv/AceTrillium. I'll be streaming it from 1 PM UK time, so make sure to come hang out at the stream and let's enjoy Oddworld Soulstorm together. But yes, thank you for listening to me gush about this game that I just can't wait to play. I hope you guys enjoy it if you play it, and thank you so much, Oddworld, for making this game and making my favorite game of all time, and then just improving on it so much. I can't wait to see what you've done to it. And thanks for letting me voice a character in the game. That's fucking badass. That's one of the best things to ever happen in my life. Like, the remake of my favorite game of all time, and my voice is going to be in it, and that's something that's going to stay with me forever. That's really freaking cool. So thank you guys so much for everything that you do. And everyone that watches me, listen out for me in the game. See if you can spot me. But yeah, cool. Thanks for watching. I'm gushing now, and I need to just go and calm down and get ready for Soulstorm tomorrow. It's going to be boss.